this ended up on my desk, but you remember this stuff, guys?
All right.
Oh yeah,
Fun day.
All right, we are live. Welcome back to What Are We Watching with Jonathan Corteau. And I missed last week because there was a sports ball game, but we're back with a very special episode today. This is our first guest stream, and I've got two fantastic friends on here to talk about William Friedkin. In the right-hand corner, documentary filmmaker and editor Ben Cook, and on the bottom here, writer Sam Perrone. And we're on we sort of have been going on a little bit of a William Friedkin marathon here. So the initial idea behind this stream was that we were going to find pick a genre and pick a decade and pick a film that none of us have seen from there, and then talk about it. And Ben found us the Brinks Job from William Friedkin, and over our text strings, it sort of spiraled into this much longer conversation on William Friedkin as a filmmaker, and sort of it's like, okay, let's just focus in on him. And my personal experience with Friedkin up to this point has only been The Exorcist, and that's it. So this has been a really fun dive into a filmmaker's work for me. And I'd actually like to, I'm going to turn this over to Sam here, because he's, of the three of us, he is the biggest fan of his work and has the most experience with him. And Sam, take it, go for it.
Yeah, thanks, John. So yeah, I'm glad we found this movie, because I think when it's the three of us and we've all seen so many movies, it's pretty challenging to find a movie that none of us have seen. So we kind of would throw some things out, and then someone would say, I've seen this. This is actually one, for being a Friedkin fan, I had actually never heard of. So I'm glad we got to watch it. Maybe we could each kind of start talking about our own relationship to Friedkin and kind of where he is for us as a favorite filmmaker, where his movies are. So I don't know. Do you want to go first, Ben? Kind of talk about like where you are with Friedkin coming into this project.
Yeah. So I've been a big William Friedkin fan for a while. Obviously, like you can't go to film school and not, he was the film that we talked about most in film school is actually Cruising. But anyway, so tangent. I came to Friedkin. It was sort of when I decided I was going to go to film school in high school, and I pulled up the AFI Top 100, and the genre I kind of loved most as a teenager was crime films. Mm-hmm. So French Connection was is the ultimate kind of defining film or redefining film for the 70s of the crime genre, right? It's one of the rare ones that ever won Best Picture, I think. I don't know. I mean, obviously The Godfather within the 70s as well, but to me, French Connection. And honestly, kind of as I get older, it's sort of it's one of the lesser interesting films to me in his catalog, as I dig it. Like it's still a great film for its time, but like when you look at the substance of the rest of his films and what the rest of his films, not all of his other films, but so what some of his other films, even the film that he made before French Connection, The Boys in the Band. I don't know if you guys have seen The Boys in the Band.
No, I didn't get to it. I wish I had.
I did not. I didn't cover as much as I wanted to in the last week or so.
So The Boys in the Band is a play basically about a guy that throws a birthday party, and it's for his friend, and they're all gay men, right? So the play was written in 1968, the film was made in 1969, 1970, and it's basically about this kind of tribe, if you will, this group of gay men where they find comfort in one another in New York. This is their family where they can be openly gay. They can be themselves. They can be, what feels right to them, right? They can be their most honest selves. And so so the guy that's hosting the party gets a call from his college roommate, who's coming to visit, and his college roommate he's never come out to, right? So his
Mhm.
college roommate doesn't know he's gay, but suspects it on some level. So he goes back to, and the roommate's going to stop by while his party's happening. So it's a chamber drama in essence, and so he tells all of his friends, hey, you guys have to, like, we be as straight as possible. because I talked about this and I want you guys to tone it down. And so, as you can imagine, what ensues it's brilliant. What it has to say about homosexuality, and about, like, at the time in 68, 70, what it has to say about basically both being closeted, and it comes out in different ways with the characters, in both being closeted and being highly repressed and being over repressed, and also how there's this statement that really I've heard people say it here to this day, which is what bugs me about homosexuality is not like, I'm fine with it, they can be gay, just don't shove it in my face, don't show it to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that statement was said in the play in 68. Like, I've heard the exact same sentiment. So what rings true, and this is the truth of Friedkin, all of his movies, even with Blue Chips, which is about college basketball and how they would pay basketball players to come and play for the college teams. And even though it's that's how they bribe them to come to the university, and it sort of ruins the purity of the game, and it's in a way sort of precedes what precedes is the fact that college now it's a legalized thing, right? So now college basketball has become flooded with all of this money and everything else, and it's kind of ruined the purity of the game. So it's like Friedkin, as always, makes these very thematically, it feels very predictive of the future. It's always relative, and it never seems to age. So I think that's kind of the brilliance of it. Brinks Job and how it fits in. I'll let whoever wants to go next.
Well, I was just on that in the my experience. So I think I said before, my experience was just, and this is up until this point has just been The Exorcist, and that I watched that out of pure, like, I love, like, horror films are fantastic, and I mean, that one, what strikes me on that one is just, it's not, you think of sometimes horror as just blood and guts and gore, and obviously there's graphic things in it, but it's what made really that movie work so well is just how it's just it's not what it's showing on the screen. It's just very, very transgressive in what it's doing. It's not, I don't think it's trying to scare you. It's not trying to scare you with gore. It's just deeper. It's just tugging at deeper strings. And that's why it's still at 100% still where you can watch it today, and it's just as scary now as it was decades ago.
Yeah.
So, and which with Brinks, when we got to Brinks Job, I was just like, this is the same guy who did The Exorcist. It's like, this isn't scary at all.
No, yeah, I was kind of saying with you, John. I didn't, going into this, I had seen a number of his movies, but originally the first one I saw was The Exorcist, and I think I had an unusual relationship to horror movies. I didn't watch a lot of them growing up, or even like I don't know, they're scary. And I think you have this preconceived notion, kind of like you were saying, John, that horror movies are just slasher movies in some ways, and that's kind of what they are. And then I watched The Exorcist for the first time, and I think, and a lot of older movies, if I haven't seen them, I'll often wait until they come out in theaters or are re-released. And so I saw that in a theater over Halloween one time. I thought it was exhilarating and scary, but same for the reasons you said, John. Like, it's not, and the reason why it hasn't really aged, I think, is because what makes it scary is the realism of it. So it's not relying on, you know, effects or gimmicks that might have, you know, it might seem very dated now. It is just the relationships that are scary. It's like it because it draws you in with his documentary style of okay, you're watching, you know, this priest go about his day. He's taking care of his mother. This single mother who's got a daughter who's an actress. She's kind of just going like for much of the movie, and especially in the first half, it is just the day-to-day life of these people. Even the small moment, like when the Lee J. Cobb, who's the detective, is just in her, you know, living room having coffee, and he's works up the courage to, you know, ask for an autograph. All those moments and relationships are so down to earth that it does give you this sense of like you're watching something so real. So then when so that lures you in, and then when it becomes, you know, scary, when the head turns all the way around, when she has the crucifix, when she levitates, it is, you know, it's terrifying, and it always is.
It's like these things should not be possible, and now they are.
And it's and he even talked about that with casting. I know that when they were looking into this, when they were starting to cast this, he turned down Brando for the Max von Sydow part because he said, he said this will become a Brando movie, and I don't want it to be
that would have been
part of it. Part of it was like his own hubris. He's like, I want to be the biggest name on this poster, William Friedkin. But also it was like, you know,
he also
from the realism
he
of
also
Brando.
He also wasn't wrong, because Brando, it would become all about Brando, and you can't. It's like for that type of thing, you need to be sucked into the drama of what's going on, not necessarily the actor playing it. And
Ellen Burstyn's kind of perfect for it because she, you know, was a star, but she's so believable as, you know, the mother. And there's a number of non-actors in it. And then, you know, the priest was a playwright who, you know, he had told Friedkin that, you know, he had been in seminary for a few years and then dropped out and kind of had lapsed faith, and that was very interesting to Friedkin, so that's why he cast him. You know, they had Stacey
Keith.
Stacey was great, but they had
and
to,
that's a huge
fire him. And but yeah, that's so all of that surrounding that's just kind of fascinated me. And then I started to look into his other stuff. And then, you know, I always felt kind of a kinship to him and a connection to him because he did have a very non-traditional route into filmmaking. Like, he dropped out of high school when he was 16, didn't go to film school, just kind of started working in TV and directing TV. And he was so brash. Like, the reason he was, you know, called upon to direct The Exorcist was because Blatty, the writer, remembered that when he had written a TV script one time and it got to Friedkin said it was the worst script he'd ever read. And he was like 24. And so he's like, all right, I need a director who won't be afraid to like do this. Because you know, Mike Nichols turned it down. Somebody else turned it down because they're like, I'm not going to stake my career on this like book that is horrifying and, you know, very transgressive and, you know, very evocative in a lot of ways. So he's like, but Friedkin wouldn't be afraid. And he never was. And he was very difficult to work with, but he was able to back it up with, you know, his filmmaking. And, you know, that's always cool to see. And we'll get into later, I think, some of his methods and, you know, the lines that were crossed or not crossed. And, but no, he's a endlessly interesting person to me. And he's, you know, when he died a couple years ago, like, he's the only filmmaker I can think of that when he died, I was like, like, I'm sad I'll never meet him. And it's not that I probably would never meet him, but he was someone that, you know, is kind of
there's so much to talk about there. Like that.
He's someone that's always kind of been a North Star for me, as far as his movies. And I love his movies from the end of his career, The K Mutiny Court Martial, Killer Joe, Bug. But, like, you know, I'm sure you see it in The Boys in the Band, and you see it in The People versus Paul Crump, his very first documentary. There's stuff in those movies that you see like throughout his whole career, and it all comes back to like his documentary style and his roots. And it's why his stuff doesn't age, and it's why it's often predictive, because he doesn't. I think this is kind of part of the problem with the Brinks Job, what maybe makes it lesser in his filmography. It is a little like vanilla and not him in a lot of ways, and it's so evident from like the first shot, and that is kind of what has made his movies that work the best really sing, is that they're so uniquely him. And I think it comes at a time in his career where he wasn't able to do something that was completely him. And but anyway, that's where I am.
Well, so I mean, when we were talking on chat, one of the films that you guys that was sort of the must watch was Sorcerer, and so I watched the Brinks Job first, and I was watching it with my mother, and she pointed out, and it's like, oh, this looks like X, Y, and Z. This looks like a set, and I'm sitting there, I'm just having spent a decade in California. It's like, oh yeah, no, this definitely, this is a backlot type of a thing. This is this here, blah 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 blah. So then I went back and watched Sorcerer, which was right before, and it's this intense film you're filming in a jungle with all of this. I'm just like, how the hell did you make this happen? And all of a sudden it made sense. Like, no, I'd want, like, if I just got off of this film, I would want to do something a little scaled in and just a little bit easier to manage. Right. So it made from that and I don't know if that's just logistical brain in here, but it made sense to me that he would go from this big sweeping epic to something a little bit more contained, just to get a little bit of a respite from the hardcore filmmaking.
Well, what's interesting, he still shot part of the film in Boston, right?
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, it looks like it, and I don't know. I view it as like Sorcerer flopped horribly, and maybe he needed to do something that was a little bit more, bankable. It's a crime comedy-ish movie, with
I mean, you got Peter
Falk, funny cast.
You got Peter Falk, and we're gonna go rob the bank.
It is a little bit of a smaller scale. It's a few years after The Sting, and it kind of has a Sting look to it. It doesn't look as good, and it's not as good, but it's like they're trying to emulate something, and which is why I think it doesn't work as well as a Friedkin movie, because it's like, I don't know, but there are moments like where it's like, okay, this feels like one of his movies, like when he's when they actually go to do the crime. I guess we're getting into the movie now.
Yes.
And they're trying to, and he's trying to pick the lock, and they only have like a minute left, and there's that dread of, and it's like, okay, I'm on the edge of my seat now, which is what you're used to with him. But yeah, we can get into it now.
I will say that specific scene with like trying to get the lockout was, I think, my favorite part of the film, because then just like, okay, they're gonna, because I would say my big issue with the film is it seemed like everything just sort of kind of seemed to work out for the characters. Like there wasn't, it's not that there wasn't conflict. It's just things just sort of seemed to fall into place.
I mean,
which is the antithesis which is the antithesis of his whole career. Like he is fascinated with characters that they're like half evil, half good. And I know you watched it. You've seen it, Ben. I rewatched Friedkin Uncut, the documentary about him, and he talks about how the two most fascinating people to him are Hitler and Jesus. And then I think he puts that into everything that he does, whether it's Popeye Doyle, whether it's any of the four guys in Sorcerer, whether it's, these priests and the Exorcist, who clearly kind of are, they're going through this exorcism, but they don't really like know if it's going to work. And like, he literally takes the evil into himself at the end. And so it's very, and so when you get to the Brinks Job, and it's these kind of like small crooks who are cracking jokes and stuff, it just doesn't feel like it's so spoofy in a lot of ways with them.
Peter Falk is walking around with just like stuff he's stolen, and he's trying to sell it to people, whether he's pulling ties on them, and he's just stealing shit constantly.
And they fill the fridge filled with turkey and they're eating
funny.
turkey. It's
Yeah.
It's so funny.
I was like, what am I watching? So
Yeah, and well, it got to there was the one portion, and I got
well, hey John,
what's the sorry.
Let me just. I'm sure a lot of anybody watching this maybe hasn't seen the Brinks Job, because I know we hadn't. So real quick, it's about Peter Falk plays this small time crook in Boston, who is, they're consistently doing little jobs. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. He gets out of prison and pretty quickly is looking for his next score. And they start robbing Brinks trucks, stealing a little bit at a time, but they realize that when they go to clean the money, they're not getting, a full return on it. So they're looking for a huge score, and they end up trying to rob the Brinks vault. And they put this heist together, and the most dramatic part of the movie is the robbery, and then the ensuing days and months after, where they're kind of on eggshells if they're gonna get caught or not. Which on its face is like a great premise for a movie. And I think the one thing that does feel Friedkin about it is he did choose something that actually happened, so he still couldn't get away from his documentary style and his persuasion to real life events, which that is very him.
And just end the movie on a period, oh, it's over now.
But all right, so I kind of set the stage a little bit for what the movie's about. We can go one by one if you want to start, John. Did you like the movie? What did you think overall?
I enjoyed it largely for the cast and for the craft. I love the way because obviously he has his documentary style, but also the way he really seems to think through where he moves it. And there's that one shot where it's a really quick thing where he zaps into the open door and it's just okay, now I'm
the crash zooms. That's a freaking thing. I love crash zooms.
Yeah. And I guess the part of the movie where I really felt like this is okay, it's now I'm I'm kind of interested. It's I believe it's the Warren Oates character where he's suggesting we may need to only off so many people, and then they're in they're in the diner.
Fucking nuts.
And they get together and it's just what do we do? This guy is he's and that's just okay, now I'm and I don't think they really go anywhere with it, where it's just we want to rob this bank, but there's this guy here who's a true he's, and again, coming off of World War II, he's got a lot of baggage there, and
shell-shocked, definitely.
And he's just do you have thoughts? But just we're dealing with this guy who's just Looney Tunes, and
right.
I don't know that they didn't really do a ton with that.
Well, that's where the tone of the film shifts, is the entry of the Warren Oates character.
Right.
Because I feel like Warren Oates, that's his casting. I mean, he's so good in that movie.
Yeah.
But it almost feels completely contrary to what Peter Falk is working with. I mean, Peter Falk can play anything and everything in a movie, really. But Warren Oates, that's the interrogation scene when he breaks.
Yes.
Just that low push in to him falling apart.
Yeah.
Such a great performance, but it's a different movie.
Yeah.
We were talking about, that's where the tone shifts is kind of through him, but that's also when the robbery takes place. That's where his character kind of comes in.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to derail you.
That's where the different movie remark, Warren Oates, Peter Boyle, and Gina Rowlands all feel like they're in a different movie at times. They want to go which Gina Rowlands especially is dialing up pretty serious at times, and I don't know. It's the tonal shift. Halfway through is interesting. I think I enjoyed the second half a lot more.
Yes,
it gets away from the comedy. I don't know.
That interrogation scene
or what? Yeah.
I mean, that interrogation scene, there's one just close up on him just acting, and it feels like Friedkin really does know when an actor like an actor is really giving you something, and we can just like you can just hold on this person for the entirety of the person and not cut. You can allow them to. You're allowing them to feel the performance, and I think he got that in that interrogation scene, and I think that's the best I think performance in the movie.
Yeah, he's a one-take director. Did you know that?
Right. Yes.
I did not know.
He did.
Only does one take.
He does one, and I think that's why, Oates probably like brings it in that scene. There's a Matthew McConaughey talked about that, how he realized that on the first day of Killer Joe, and he got a lot of anxiety about it, but then immediately was like, okay, well, it takes away a lot of, doubt as well, because I can just kind of shoot from the hip and give what I think is my best, and it's going to go, which is, you feel it in Killer Joe sometimes, especially with some of the, I think, lesser actors in the films. Okay, they could have maybe used a couple more takes here, but McConaughey's great in it. I think some actors really that he's worked with really benefit from it.
Right.
And I think he is good at getting a lot out of actors, huge stars like a McConaughey, or a non-actor like some of them in The Exorcist, who you wouldn't know that they're not actors.
I mean, this might be a random left turn, but and it's like Samuel L. Jackson is a great actor, but I think Rules of Engagement, you get quite a, I would say, nuanced performance from him in that he's got Rules of Engagement, the character he's playing, it requires that like sort of Sam Jackson, this combination of like just manic Sam Jackson, like the Sam Jackson MFer, like the caricature version of him that we know, and then the actor that he really is, and he sort of vacillates from like, okay, we believe he could do something really terrible, but also this is a really down-to-earth Marine who just loves he loves the Marines and loves his country and his men and what he does. And he really, I think, pulls that. It's I think a really great performance from Samuel L. Jackson in that movie.
Yeah, it is. I think casting is. I think there's like three things for me that define Friedkin, like big picture things. One of them is casting, and this is what he talks about. He's like, if you cast your movie right, that's why I can get away with doing one take, because I know I've already got the casting in hand. I don't have to go into too much direction because I don't want to direct actors as much as, I want them to have naturalistic performances. I think he talked about this in something where he said, I don't rehearse on my films. I rehearsed for The Exorcist, and we rehearsed it for like 6 weeks before we started shooting, but it felt mechanical by the time that we got to set, and it didn't feel right. And I had to break all of that. That's where like the firing of the starter pistol, that's where slapping of actors happened. He's like, he likes the improvised, he likes the naturalistic performances. And that's the other part of a Friedkin film, is it always feels authentic and real.
Yeah.
You buy everything. No, even the lousiest of scripts, he brings to life in all of his films. So, and I think it's because of that. One, it's the one take. Two, it's because he casts perfectly, and both by bringing in people you've never heard of before. Like, I think Gene Hackman was kind of a nobody before.
I mean, at that time, I don't, as far as I know, I mean,
yeah, I think Scheider wasn't anybody either. I think by the time he brought it in, Ellen Burstyn was, I don't know if she had much of a career. Obviously, we talked about the father, but it's like that's the case. And then when he farther down the road with Killer Joe, he what do you call it? Countercasting with Matthew McConaughey, and apparently this is the film that is cited as kicking off the whole McConaissance, like the change of his career, right? So he kind of, it's casting is the key, the one take thing, and also ambiguous endings. Yeah, but we can get to that a little later.
Like I know with speaking on McConaissance, like he cited this as his ability to get True Detective because they wanted him to be the Woody Harrelson character in True Detective, and he's like, I want to do the other one, and like, well, we don't know if you've got that. He's like, well, go watch Killer Joe, and then he got it. But you're right about like the one take thing is so interesting with him because I know in Killer Joe there's a shot where a red pickup truck pulls up and you can see the camera crew in the reflection of the pickup truck.
No.
And his DP wanted to redo it, and he's like, no. He's like, if people are watching that and not the action that's happening on the ground, like this movie's not working. So like people know it's a movie. So he's like, so I don't care if they see the reflection.
I would say
of the camera.
with that, there's also there's an old school thought process to that I think there's a lot of younger people would look at that and say like, oh, we'll paint it out.
Starbucks.
Like, yeah, we'll send it to the After Effects guy. He'll take them out, and then it's like there's almost like a layer of authenticity that's then removed when you can't see the crew in the background.
So that even shows like his roots of like, okay, didn't go to film school. I'm not obsessed with the art of it all. I'm just gonna make a movie, and kind of let it fall where it may. But to get back to Brinks Job, I guess my issue, it didn't feel that authentic to me, even though like, you know, yes, they shot a lot of it in Boston. They had a lot of talented people in the cast. Like, it was the same, I think, production designers, The Godfather, and there was some there's some good looking stuff, but in set pieces and the drama works at times. It just didn't like. It felt. Maybe it was the comedic aspect of it. It felt a little sketchish and spoofy to me.
Yeah, it's very. It just
I
feels.
love that.
See, I did it. I really bumped against it for me because I don't think that's where he shines at all. And but you seem like you really liked it, Ben. Do you want to talk about like what you loved about it?
I mean, when they're robbing the confectionery place, it's so fun. Walk in the room and the dopey brother-in-law is like looking at the sign that says "Do not open."
Well, it's like it's like they have it's a Family Guy gag. Like it's like my brain went to it's that there was that cutaway where Peter Griffin's looking at the he's on a plane looking at the don't open the thing and he doesn't get sucked out the plane. It's like he's doing Family Guy decades before Family Guy.
And Peter Falk's just going, "Go wait in the car." And what you have to also think about is Falk. I love Peter Falk, you know, because like his Cassavetes. When I saw a scene with him married to Gina Rollins. And, you know, it was, I have to imagine that casting must have been inspired from Woman Under the Influence.
Definitely.
To some degree, because I love those two together. And then and then next year, Falk, I think The In-Laws was made.
Serpentine Shelley.
What's that?
Serpentine Shelley.
So
that's right.
So this I assume is the white character of his wife.
Yeah, Jenna Rollins.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So like one of the things I do kind of like that how they played with it is like when they first introduce her, there's this like she's married to this crook and like she must have a real problem with this, and there's all this like no she's actually just like she's fine with it, and I'm just on for the ride, like which was very like okay.
I just love the way yeah, it's great. I just love the way he wanders around in scenes, and he just sort of like it's where he just sort of wanders to one point. It's like you have to wonder when they're going to do blocking, like how the cinematographers are thinking when watching, because he just always seems to like seem so aimless in scenes. And the way things like is this blocked? It doesn't even. It's so naturalistic. It doesn't even look like it's. Okay, I'm going to walk over to this mark, hit this mark, and then walk over to this mark. And, you know, like, it doesn't seem like that with Peter Falk. It just sort of seems like it's like, hey, anything could happen right now, and I'm all right with it.
Well, that's kind of what leads to their to this big job that they pull is like he's got the brother-in-law who doesn't know anything. We could do this small potatoes thing or this small potatoes thing, and they just meander into like, holy crap, this security company they are shit at what they do. Like we could just walk in here like that. I mean, that's where it starts to because up until that point, it in the film, it's okay, what are we doing here? And then you get to okay, here's the kickoff of like, and it's just Peter Falk noticing being observant and noticing these guys, their security is nothing, and they're supposed to be guarding all of this money. This is
right.
like, we can take advantage of this, and
Right.
it just feels very train of thought, like I like you said, sort of like wandering along through the city, and then like, oh God, like this is we're looking for the thing, and this is it.
All
This
right.
is it right here.
So it's
And
yeah, it's like two things in that is that I think there's a kind of commentary on both how these inept criminals, like, I think you have to show them as being kind of idiots and incompetent, and in a funny way where you don't hate them. And then and then when you see them actually pull off a heist against this company, this fortress of a company, right? Which shows you just the sort of absurdity of both the FBI and in their inability to catch him, and Brinks to be able to, like, all of these. It shows the absurdity of the institutions as they are, right?
yeah,
And how these idiots just ripped off an institution. So it's like,
yeah,
here's a bunch of bozos. Okay, they only get.
it's just like the
bucks.
whole thing is like it's filming. It's just all of it is a backdrop. It doesn't, like, they have this veneer of we're this secure company, and it's like, no, we're not. We're
Right.
like, if you take a look behind the curtain, there's nothing.
Right. And I think that's, like, to me, it's almost like that. I think he was trying. All right. So imagine if we had a film where the first half matched the tonally, the first half of the film matched the second half of the film, right? It was a little more serious. How would you make the characters likable in the first half of the film when they're clearly criminals stealing stuff? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how the audience could approach it if it had a more serious tone. And I think that's probably where I have to imagine that's probably where the rub is like, what's the entry point for the audience in liking these characters if they're just
Well,
shitty
also
criminals?
another thing he got is the time jump between when he goes, the open of the film is 1938. They come back in, Peter Falk goes to prison. He gets out in 1945 as a younger man in America. Like, that's a very convenient time to be in prison when all of most of the rest of American men are over fighting for the country. You're like, in the most righteous, arguably the most righteous war, you're doing nothing about it. And so how do we like this guy who's been put away for that period of time?
Right. What did you think of the movie, Sam?
Yeah. I won't be revisiting it, I don't think, much. I mean, it was a little too goofy for me. Like, it really was. And the comedic elements of it, I agree with what you're saying about trying to have some sort of entry for the audience to connect. But I think about that with Sorcerer and how you're rooting for these guys, but like, he doesn't even attempt to, like, connect you with them in, like, a meaningful way. Like, these guys are all kind of,
I mean, I would say
one way
that's
or another. But you're rooting for them on this mission. There's the guy who's a terrorist. There's a guy who's a gangster. There's a guy who's an assassin. There's a guy who's, like, committed gross amounts of fraud. And yet, you're kind of, you're rooting for Roy Scheider and him to make it. And it's kind of electric when, the French guy's trying to get across the bridge. Like, it's and that movie is so much more kind of animalistic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And, like, there is even, like, they're in the jungle and there's this kind of, like, law of the jungle type thing. Like, the bigger French dude, like, kind of strong arms Roy Scheider into going the route he wants to go. There's literally whoever has, like, the biggest stick in any given moment is gonna, like, win. And just barreling over people. And I think maybe, audiences didn't connect with that, because that Sorcerer coming off The Exorcist was, like, his biggest budget to date that he had received. He got, like, a $22 million budget for it. And I think it made, like, 7 or 8 million worldwide. And so, with Brinks Job, maybe he is trying to tone it down a bit. And, like, okay, I need to, like, do something smaller, something that people can connect to. Peter Falk is, inherently very likable. It's kind of funny. It's got skinny Paul Sorvino. It's got
what a cast. I mean,
but
really.
then it doesn't work for him again because it's a smaller budget, but it doesn't even make half its money back. And then I think he's kind of like, screw it. If I'm not going to be able to connect, I'm just going to go the other way and I'll do cruising. And which flops even harder. But at least it was the smallest of the three, Sorcerer, Brinks, and Cruise. I think, Cruising only had $11 million, and it actually made its money back because the budget was so small. But I don't know. I have always gravitated toward his movies where he's, really, I think, wielding pretty heavily and doing exactly what he wants to do. I don't know that comedy is his, bag. And I think we've seen this with other filmmakers
if you go to Spielberg with 1941,
Spielberg tried it.
1941 that movie is hot garbage.
Yeah, this is not 19 audience. This is not.
It's not that. Yeah, it's like it's fully like it's Brinks Job is worth what. Like you don't need to watch. But
I'm trying to think about Brinks Job if it was like totally serious. Like say it's not Peter Falk. It's Roy Scheider is like the big guy, and it's kind of hard boiled through the whole film and like what that movie is. I think it is a better movie. But yeah, it's still better than a lot of filmmakers' other movies.
Oh God, yeah.
Like, even a lesser one for him. Like,
and
it's still technically, sound.
And what's interesting, I mean, with Sorcerer followed up immediately by this, both of them have sort of a similar, I think, structure going on, where the first half is a little like it's requiring the audience to be a little bit patient to get to know these characters, to get them to the point where, because I would say both of them, like once the sort of the heisting starts off in Brinks Job, I was into it. Once we get to in Sorcerer, we need to get this dynamite from here to here, and we've got the audience knows all of the stories of these separate characters, and we throw them together.
Right.
Then it gets just like, okay, it's like all of and both of them are roughly 2 hours. The first hour serves a character purpose to get you to the main line of here's what our goals are in the film.
And I think some of his best movies do have kind of a surreal or supernatural element to them.
Yeah.
And, the Brinks Job obviously doesn't. And, it is the most stripped down of the ones I've seen. Again, you kind of watched a lot more of his 80s and 90s, both of you, and I didn't get to that. So maybe, that naturalism and realism kind of shines more in those films.
His 80s and 90s by far the worst period of his it's not. I mean, Rules of Engagement is like The Hunted. I watched The Hunted, and that's like, oh God, what the hell? But that is dark for a studio film. I mean, they're both Rules of Engagement and The Hunted are dark studio films, but they have very clear endings. They feel like a compromise for Friedkin, and then he went back and he made. Then he made Bug after The Hunted. I think The Hunted was kind of a flop, and he took a lot of critical heat because everybody thought it was a ripoff of First Blood, basically. And then that's when he went back and did these little indie films with Bug and Killer Joe, which felt more like his style. Both the lighting, the ending, the casting, all of it felt like more of the Friedkin that we knew back in the 70s, basically in the 60s.
Yeah, and it's almost like again, it's like one of the ones I watched last week was Rules of Engagement. It's almost that film again. I enjoyed. It's almost more clear cut than some of his other things. Like there's by the end of that movie, there's a very clear. This is the person who did the right thing. Here's the person who did the wrong thing, and it's very, very cut and dry. And I don't know that you have that with other the other films that.
What did you think about the ending of that film and what that film had to say, and then what happened a year late after the film came out? So the movie came out in 2000.
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's like it's before, and which is interesting. And I need to, in the process of writing an Instagram review for it, but it's a year before 9/11, and it's talking about a lot of things that I think are even topical 25 years later, still now. I'm trying to think of how to.
I didn't see it. I didn't watch it. I figured it was bad, so I just stayed away.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Not
it's
bad.
just
it's just not. It's not. It's
not good.
It's mid-tier Friedkin.
Yeah. It's very.
Watch.
It definitely comes off as politician bad, soldier good. Like it's, and I guess this is why one of the reasons I like it that I enjoy it, and just coming from my my proclivities for being a conservative guy, being like you can't always.
Wait a minute, you're conservative? I'm out of here.
No, man, don't. But it's very much like you've got what the politicians are telling you, you got what the media is telling you, and then there's the people who are actually on the ground. And it does, I think, a good job of at bare minimum of saying like, look, there's if you're the guys on the ground, there's stuff that you as the average person don't know what's happening.
Right.
I don't know that it 100% gets it, and it's a little bit more, I think, black and white than Friedkin normally does.
Yes.
And that's where just like again, it's like maybe so like, and I think like with. Just sort of again, being a conservative guy, just like I like this, like the black and white. These are the bad guys. These are the good guys. And or say like I just watched French Connection last night, and Gene Hackman in that movie. It's like okay, you can kind of see like okay, like his like he is driven to stop these drug guys, and like this is like he is a righteous and then you get to the end and that righteousness causes him to like it's just like you just look at the Reich Riders like you just shot the captain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like it can lead you to a place that's really gross and terrible. And it's very, very gray and muddy, and rules of engagement doesn't quite have that.
He's always going to be a filmmaker that's kind of like for the little guy and sticking it to the man a little bit. Like you see it with Peele versus Paul Crumb. You see it with even in this, like the end and the Brinks Job when they're getting arrested and everybody's like cheering their names and like asking for autographs and stuff.
Greatest thief in history.
Yeah, and like he used to rob my store, and he's all like proud to know him and. Yeah, and like just the way the FBI is portrayed in it, like so menacing, walking down the hall and look for a reason to. Yeah, it's just that's in all his movies, and he's never been interested in. I think portraying. So like power is never like, big offices and power and, the people that kind of run the world have never been of interest to him. It's always going to be like these small time crooks, this down on his luck priest, these guys that fled to South America, these kind of, essentially nobody, Killer Joes, these people in a horrible situation in Texas. It's always just people just kind of life's just kind of moving slowly for them, and they just feel like they feel like they're doing time and day. And it's kind of monotonous, and that's always, and I think that probably stems from his background a little bit.
So is if you could elaborate on that a little more.
What's that?
His background.
Yeah, I know that he grew up in kind of a poor Jewish family, and he was not. He wasn't very highly educated. He dropped, like I said earlier, he dropped out of high school. Didn't have a great relationship with his father. Seemed to be in trouble a lot, and his mother was always getting him out of trouble. But he was kind of a bully a little bit, which
Mhm.
does stem into like his work as a director. You can see it on, by all accounts, of his sets that he ran. Pretty manipulative as a person as well, which I think
Oh, yeah.
does help him get performances, obviously. But I talked about this a little bit in the open. Yeah, he dropped out of high school, started working in TV, and then he never wanted to be a filmmaker until he saw Citizen Kane and was like, I think I can be Orson Welles, basically. And so, which is just kind of him, like to see like maybe the greatest movie ever and then be like, I want to do that. And so, and which is an attitude, for better or for worse, I think, that he took to every project that he did. But he was very comfortable, I think, making movies and stories about people kind of on the outskirts of society and like kind of people that are down and out. And I think he probably thought of himself a lot in that way. Even with such a high opinion of himself, he was always kind of an outsider. Was never one of the traditional movie brats that are talked about. Like he was around them, but was never
like he wasn't in the in crowd with like Scorsese and Coppola.
Actually, he was part of the American
directors
directors. That's what it was.
Directors group. He was, but he never made a movie with them. He was in it. They allowed him to join after The Exorcist, I think, but he never made a movie, and he ended up dropping out before he did Sorcerer. And
he was a producer on Paper Moon, right?
Correct, but he didn't direct anything while he was
right
part of them. I think but he was not a fan of Bogdanovich by all accounts. He thought his decisions were all skewed by the fact that he was in love with Sybil Shepherd, and and I think if you look at the way the 70s kind of ended for him, and then I think for a lot of those guys, like they don't really make it out of the 70s, some of them, and the only ones that really did and really flourished were like Lucas and Spielberg, right? Like Spielberg starts doing Indiana, he does, I think in 81 he does Raiders, and then a couple years later does E.T. and Last Crusade. Lucas is of course producing a lot of those, and Schrader kind of flames out. Scorsese does to an extent, even though a lot of his work in the 80s is looked back on very fondly now. But it wasn't until Goodfellas that he really is back. And then Friedkin kind of drifted in the wind for a while with his movies. I think
it's so. I was just looking up. After watching Sorcerer and looking it up, it was directly competing with Star Wars, which changed. Arguably, Star Wars, it's like there's your start mark for what would become then the 80s. So,
and I think
a lot of these guys, they have a different style for the 70s than really what the public was jumping on in the 80s.
I think by the end of the 70s too, like at the beginning of the 70s or end of the 60s with Bonnie and Clyde, and then into the 70s with movies like The French Connection, there was a real hunger for a grittier kind of movie that was more realistic and wasn't going to hold punches. I know like Mean Streets was like thought of as, we have this great new artist in our midst, Scorsese. And then 1980, people were like, I don't want to watch Raging Bull. Like, this is horrible. Like this, I don't want to watch this guy, it opens with him beating his wife, and then by the end of it, she leaves him for his brother. And like it's a hard watch. Like he was still considered an artist, but people were walking out of that movie. And I think when the 80s are coming, it's a new decade. Like you were saying, Star Wars, bigger, more feel-good blockbusters. The country's changing in a lot of ways. There is a shift in what people had an appetite for. And he, after the Brinks Job, kind of doubles down and says, I'm going to do cruising. And which was realistic to what he was portraying, like that scene in New York, like that he takes that documentary style. He's back to that with cruising, and he's, capturing these, sex clubs and, crimes that are happening. And it's the grittiest of movies. But I think that there was a right-leaning persuasion that just didn't have an appetite for that anymore, and that they wanted to go see Star Wars, they wanted to see Raiders of the Lost Ark, stuff that was, you know, exciting but ultimately just fun. And you know, if you're gonna, and Friedkin, kind of like he always did, kind of stuck to his guns and was like, no, this is what I'm doing, and it, you know, it doesn't work. And I think it takes a few decades for him to get back to. I think by the end of his life, where he has this, people just want to work with him because he made The Exorcist, and you know, the French Connection. Everybody that he probably like pissed off was like dead and gone. And it's, you know, it's exciting to be able to work with William Friedkin.
Yeah,
you know, that's when he gets to do, you know, Bug, Killer Joe, which really feels like stuff at the beginning of his career, more so than the 2 or 3 decades in between. So I don't know. I know we're kind of running out of time here.
Yeah,
but
and if it's like I can real quick, one thing I did note, this is just sort of a stylistic thing and something I love about all of the films of his that I've watched so far, is his use of blood and how quick it is. I've just noticed a lot of really quick shots of and it's not even like however they do the blood makeup, it's a little, it's not 100% realistic, but it's sort of like outsized, and it's just very, very punchy. Like if you look like in Sorcerer, when at the very, you know toward the end, where they come across the the sort of the bandits in the middle, and you know people get shot and whatnot, it's very, very quick and very, very punchy. Rules of Engagement does the same thing, where it's like a quick shot, and it's just really, really, really effective use of, again, the fact that violence is bad, but you don't need to dwell on it, or like it's not violence porn. It's just very like, holy shit, this just happened.
Yeah,
and he did that very, very well.
Okay.
It seemed like his the way these things are cut. I think he used one editor mostly through the 70s, Bud Smith, who ended up like associate producing and like co-producing the movies after a while, which is not uncommon once certain filmmakers work with an editor. But they move. Every scene is never. Nobody's like, you're not watching somebody walk into a room and trying to settle into a thing. It's like, we're here for a certain reason, then we're out. Like, you do not waste time. But you know what I found interesting about the first opening shot of Brinks Job is a guy smoking a cigar down an alley, right? That's a film studio that they're walking into. The characters are walking into a film studio in the beginning. That's the opening shot of the film, and it's a long one. And I think like, and there's something absurd about the way they're costumed and things. I went back.
Hey, well, it's like the clown mask at the first in that very first shot. It's like again, it's like I guess like I would imagine that probably was purposeful, where it's just like this is sort of a gaggle of clowns that we're about to go into clown world a little bit.
And the fact that it's a film studio is like, I almost wonder if it's like a little bit of a jab to the film industry, you know. All right, so I read this book about the United Artists and like the collapse of United Artists through Heaven's Gate, and they talked about Friedkin and Friedkin's contempt on when they were making Sorcerer for the producers, the executive producers. Like they describe at one point in the book where Friedkin's standing behind executive producer, and he's making this like humping motion as if he's like the executive producer's like bending over to look at something, and Friedkin's like making this humping motion like he's fucking him, and he's just so contemptuous, they describe in the book, towards executives and everybody else. You know, like it's almost like he hates the industry. He loves filmmaking, but he hates the machine.
He's
like
talked about that, how he hates awards. Like he doesn't think there should be competition. Like he just thinks they should just make the movie and move on. On Sorcerer, Charles Bluhdorn, who is the head of Gulf and Western, and which owned Paramount, he would often try to, like, he'd bring models and actresses to set on big days where there was going to be an explosion or something, just to kind of flex to them, and like, this is my movie I'm producing, like, let's go down to the set to see something exciting. And despite him, Friedkin would like move it to a different day. He'd bring these women to set, and then nothing would happen.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, you're right. He did have a contempt. He was never afraid to say, you know, when something was bad, even if it was like a colleague. I think there is like a unwillingness, especially today, to just say like, this is like not good. Because I think the sentiment is no one tries to make a bad movie, which I agree, but no, some movies are, you know, just not good. And he was very, very open about that, which is why I think he kind of, you know, made a lot of enemies. I think his 80s and 90s maybe are a little easier, a little bit, you know, better in some ways if he wasn't so kind of on his own.
What's interesting, he made this movie Rampage in '86. He wrote and produced it, and directed it, and but he made it with Dino De Laurentiis, who produced The Brinks Job, and the De Laurentiis company collapsed, went into bankruptcy while they were making this movie, or after. So it wasn't actually released until like '93, many years later. The masters, I think, were lost because the only thing that people have access to now are like this crappy SD version of the thing. It looks terrible. The transfer looks like it's like 30 frames per second. But like it seems to me his entanglement with these studios, like with Sorcerer, I think, didn't Bloodhorn like own the country that they filmed Sorcerer?
Yeah, he owned a bunch of like property there. Yeah.
And if you look in the interviews, Friedkin talks about how it was a $16 million movie. That's what his budget, that's what he had. But apparently it was written off as a bigger loss than 16 million.
Oh,
like
Hollywood accounting.
Yes. So I think Bloodhorn might have been stuffing some of that money through writing off some of his debts and things like that. I think there was some money. There's some funny money things, and I think that followed Friedkin through the course, and maybe that's probably only made him that much more contemptuous to the system ultimately.
All right, where are we at, John?
We're about an hour, so it's like any other time. I mean, I feel like we could go on and on and on, because I mean, this is quite the body of work, and it's quite the body of work, and just like again, like we like, you know, having worked together, like we could, like, there is no stopping us. There is
we'll
no
have to do
stopping
it. We
what
should
can't
do it
be
again
stopped.
with a different director.
This has been an aggressively fun week, doing a deep dive into a single director. So I really want to do this again. So like, we need to come up with it. We need to come up with another person, and then dive in.
The Smashing Machine pod.
Oh, we do need to do one where Ben and I were not as hot on the Smashing Machine, and Sam did. We need to do a Sam defends the Smashing Machine
strong man
episode.
I see Chris Bunker chimed in. What's up, Chris? How you doing, brother?
Yeah.
Do you have a director you'd like us to review?
Yeah, like Chris, let us know. We will talk about whatever director you'd like us to talk about. But yeah, cool. Like, this has been awesome. Thank you guys for coming on. I just treasure every film conversation we have, and like the cat butt is the cat. He's just saying he likes your film commentary. Get buddy. Like,
do you have anything to say about the Brinks Job?
The cat has opinions. But yeah, just like this has been fantastic. Let's pick one to do. Let's pick another one to do, and jump on again.
Cool. That sounds great.
Right. Thanks, and just before we wrap up, where can folks find you guys, Ben? Where can they find your documentary?
The Best of Us is available on Tubi, Amazon, Scientology, and a whole bunch of other things. Also, DVD copies are available.
Nice.
If you wish to purchase them. I have a website, folk-cinema.com, or The Best of Us Film I have another one that I'm in post on currently as well. And so, yeah, if you come check us out, come check out the social medias and give us some likes and give us some loves. I'd appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you, John, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's like I appreciate both you. Have that, Sam. Where can we find you?
Oh, I mean, I'm on Instagram, but I don't have anything to promote. It's just my Instagram.
You just gotta promote you.
No, yeah. I go watch The Best of Us though. It's great.
Yeah, it's a great documentary. You know, check it out. All right, so I will
see you, John.
See you guys. See you guys soon. All right, bye.
All right, thanks, John.
Thank you.